In the month of April, we come together to celebrate the life and work left behind by one of the greatest to ever do it. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Porcherson. Joining me today, he isn't listening to your conversations. He doesn't think you're all that interesting. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
You can't just reach inside a man's brain and pull out information. You have to ask first, Portress.
Mm-hmm. And he wants nothing more than to ride a moped through a warehouse. Bruce Leslie.
Moped in, moped out, moped in town, all about.
Man, let me tell you, anytime there's like, that is always something that I want to do is either like, you know, like ride a motorcycle or I rode a skateboard through a closed Walmart once. It was like the most amazing feeling ever. My dad was like an assistant manager at Walmart. They closed down, and one night I had a skateboard, and it was the coolest thing ever. And then I was like,
"That's every boy's dream."
Don't do that. We're gonna get in trouble, so I didn't want to do that. Well, welcome back to HMP, everybody. In April, we are looking back at the movies of the recently departed Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman was one of our greatest American actors out of the new Hollywood era of the 70s, and we are kicking off Gene Hackman Appreciation Month with a conversation from 1974, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. This is I love this movie ever since I saw it many years ago, and was always wanted to kind of bring it up. And I'm glad that we get to kind of share it today. You guys, I know you'd seen it previously, Sean, right?
Yes, I had. I'd seen it. I think I've seen it twice before this current watching.
Gosh, Bruce, same.
I've never seen this before.
Brand new one for you then. All right,
yeah.
Sweet. This was one that when I think I first learned about it by reading, believe it or not, Walter Murch's book, the editor for this movie, and many other Francis Ford Coppola movies. He's got a book called, I believe it's called like In the Blink of an Eye or something. I think that's what it's called. But essentially the idea is, you know, how every time you're watching something and everything, editing is kind of like blinking. You don't really realize that it's happening. You just do it, right? And editing should be kind of that same sort of thing. It's like, you know, it shouldn't feel abrupt. It should just feel like, you know, boom. It's, of course, the obvious next natural thing that's next to happen in the story and stuff. And so I read a lot about the conversation from his book and everything, and all the stories between that and the myriad of stories that follow Francis Ford Coppola in his career around are quite something, and we'll probably get into a few of those and everything like that. But we'll be talking the conversation today. Before we do all of that, though, we want you head on over there to patreon.com/HMP and sign up, man. Pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And Dinger Zone right now, man, we are doing all of our Daredevil Born Again 30 questions. And a lot of stuff to talk about over there. Good and bad. Good, bad, and otherwise, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So check out all of our Dinger Zone stuff over there. And, of course, the YouTube, man. Are you subscribed on the YouTube? You ought to be, because we're putting out new stuff over there, including my most recent review of the new horror film with John Lithgow and Jeffrey Rush called The Rule of Jenny Penn. Fantastic, by the way. If you want to see John Lithgow just kind of like, you know, going absolutely bananas and torturing Jeffrey Rush in an old person's home, Rule of Jenny Penn is right up your alley. Good stuff. So check all that kind of stuff out.
What strange person is yearning for what you just described?
Anybody that likes John Lithgow and Jeffrey Rush.
Okay.
You should.
I had a girlfriend in high school who hated him. Like, it was so weird.
Hated Jeffrey Rush?
Hated Lithgow. Hated him. Like,
probably the big forehead.
I at the time I was like, hey, do you want to go see Raising Cain? I think was the movie.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, no, I hate him. I was like, okay, we won't go see him.
I will say this though, like if you hate him, like Raising Cain ain't what you want to see. Because, like, he's really getting into, like, you know, he's going wild. He's going wild in that movie with all the different characters and everything. And he's just eating it, man. So
he's 100% Lithgow in that movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you don't like him and what Brian De Palma's doing right there, you're certainly going to dislike that movie, I would imagine. But I really enjoyed that film.
I think if you don't like Lithgow, you could always watch According to Garp and maybe laugh at him in a dress or something. I don't know.
You know, do what you got to do. And I also recommend some other Lithgow movies and stuff. So even if The Rule of Jenny Penn isn't up your alley or anything, that's one of the things that I did at the end of the video is recommend a couple other, not only John Lithgow flicks, but also kind of stuck in crazy mental institution sort of movies and stuff as well. So check all that stuff out. The YouTube links are in the show notes. Let's get into it, fellas. Oh, and just remember this. Those blank check guys, if they saw you, they'd cross the street. They're hanging out with Lin-Manuel Miranda this week. Yeah? You think that they got time for people like you? No, sorry, Bob. The biggest celebrity we got on this show is Bruce doing his impression of Dusty Rhodes. That's it.
Hard times, baby. Hard times for Dusty Rhodes family.
In the script, I wrote, wait for Bruce's impression.
I don't even have a script that I knew to wait for it.
I was just like, and I'm going to put this one right here. Bruce. Patreon.com/HMP. We appreciate, love all you folks. And check out the Daredevil Born Again. We're having a lot of fun over there. And if you can't, man, just email us at halfassmoviepod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get into it, fellas. Here's the IMDb plotline for the conversation. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. A paranoid secret surveillance expert has a crisis of conscience when he suspects that the couple he is spying on will be murdered. This is written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, who you, of course, know from The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, Dracula, Jack, Youth Without Youth, and of course, who could forget it? And if you've seen it, you certainly couldn't. Megalopolis. Starring Gene Hackman, John Cazale, Alan Garfield, Frederick Forrest, Michael Higgins, Cindy Williams, Terry Garr, and some schlub called Harrison Ford.
I have a question for you guys. That's just an overall question. I'm guessing that the first time either of you have probably ever seen Gene Hackman in a movie is probably Superman, right? The reason why
for sure.
The reason why I ask is because that I can remember distinctly being a little kid and going to see the Superman movie, the first one, and then seeing Gene Hackman in something else and thinking, hey, that guy's the bad guy in Superman when I saw him in something else. And thinking, man, that guy's a bad guy. He's going to be a bad guy in this one too. And he wasn't.
Yeah. Now that I think about it,
he's wearing his wig in this movie too.
Yeah.
He's, I think that is the first thing that I never really kind of thought about it, but it does kind of make sense. If you're of a particular age, you probably, that is probably the first thing most of us have seen Gene Hackman in. That's funny.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. If you are Gen X or Gen Y, it's probably the first thing you've ever seen him in.
Yeah, that adds up and stuff. So Francis Ford Coppola is kind of off the success of The Godfather here and everything. Things are going pretty good for him at this point. And it turns out that, Paramount wants to do the impossible here and says, we would like to do a Godfather Part 2 or a sequel to a Godfather, which, was not a thing at that point. Sequels weren't really a thing at all for the most part.
James Bond movies, but that's about it.
Yeah, and even those
aren't really
tangential sequels, if you will. But he said, okay, I tell you what, I will do The Godfather Part 2, but I got to make the conversation first. You got to let me do that. And so Paramount was like, all right, listen, you've been making some money for us, so we'd like to let you do whatever you want to do. And that's been Francis Ford Coppola's kind of calling card, really, throughout his entire career.
So, do you guys have any particular feelings or any strong feelings about Coppola outside of Godfather movies?
Oh, I got tons.
Strong feelings isn't the right word, but I think that he's one of those guys that he was always making movies for himself.
Yeah.
But and occasionally, because he's of all of like the incredibly famous director names, no one mishandles money more than Francis Ford Coppola.
That's
and
true.
So he then has to go back and do one for them again. And it happens all the time with him. And so because he has that, like, even The Conversation is one of those movies where it's like, oh, this is an art school movie just with really famous people in it.
Yeah, this would not be a movie that Paramount, more than likely.
Ever. No way.
Not to this level of budget and everything that I'm sure that they've got at this point, which isn't huge, but I'm sure it's more than anyone would have gotten for this type of film pre, Francis Ford Coppola, pre Godfather, if you will.
And so I think that the movies of his that I like the best are generally, with the exception of this movie here, are generally the movies where he has to go back and shoot one for them, because he still has that like I've got to make a studio movie, but I'm going to make it my way. And whenever that happens, at least for a good 20 years with Coppola movies, he makes some of the best movies ever made. And so, he always needs most of these guys need that. Lucas needs that too. Somebody who is going to tell you no, and you have to listen to them. And when that person isn't around, your product is the wrong word. Your film is going to be less than, because you need to do workarounds. You need to be smarter. You can't just be like, oh, well, I just sold my vineyard, so I'm going to sink $250 million into a movie that no one will ever see.
Yeah. Everybody poo-poos Robert Evans, but you need Robert Evans to smack you down every once in a while until you know.
I hate to admit that, but that is absolutely true.
Because Robert Evans was a big, giant, old-fashioned jerk here and everything, but he was often very right as well.
Yes. And that's how I see Francis Ford Coppola, is that he's one of those guys that he can make the best movie you've ever seen, but also his next movie might be the worst thing you've ever seen. Is how I feel about it.
I appreciate what he tries to do, his ethos, what he aspires to do. I applaud that a million times, and I would rather. I think I would rather see an artist take risks and stuff, and have sometimes those risks come off in their Apocalypse Now. Sometimes those risks come off and they're Megalopolis,
right?
But he's trying. And that's something that you can't always say for a lot of other folks, especially once they're getting up into, their 70s and 80s and whatnot.
Yeah.
To where like Megalopolis is a giant piece of garbage that is just, but it's almost so bad that you have to watch it, because it's just like a crappy filmmaker's not going to do what Francis Ford Coppola does here. It's not good, but it's like it couldn't be done by somebody who was dumb.
Right.
If that makes sense.
My relationship with Francis Ford Coppola, the first movie of his I ever saw was The Godfather. And prior to watching The Conversation, the last time I watched a Coppola movie was Godfather 3. So I kind of had sort of turned on him pretty quickly after I became familiar with him, because I went from Godfather 1 to 3 in like a year's time. So I might have missed a whole lot of interesting stuff out there, but I just have, if it's not the first two Godfathers, I generally don't care if Coppola was the director. It's not going to pull me in.
And it's weird because he's kind of had almost an odd inverse career that a lot of other folks do. They kind of start kind of low and everything, and then get up to, big giant heights and stuff over their career and everything. He's had quite the, a quick meteoric rise and super fall and everything like that. And it's just, I credit where credit is due. The man keeps getting back up to the plate. Through as many bankruptcies and refinancing, and he's always robbed Peter to pay Paul on practically everything he's ever done. I got to applaud the tenacity of the man. You can't help.
He sounds like a larger scale Charles Band.
He is, like, in a lot of ways. That's not an untrue statement. Now, he's got more like artistic chops than him. He surrounds himself with better people than Band does, because he can afford to pay him, but he can only afford to pay him because he levers his house 3 times over.
Right.
His kids aren't going to college, but you can make the rain people. Like that was his entire MO. It's like, and I would always encourage anybody to watch Hearts of Darkness.
Oh man.
The documentary about that movie.
I love Apocalypse Now. I do. But I think I might like Hearts of Darkness more as a movie.
I've never seen Hearts of Darkness, but I've heard exactly what you said from many people, Sean. So I need to check it out.
Man, I not to give you homework, but watch Apocalypse Now first if you've never seen it.
I've seen Apocalypse Now, okay. And I find it good enough. I find it interesting in a lot of ways, but
now, Bruce, think about it like this:
as much as I should.
What if you made a movie about your wife, set dressing and stuff like that, and put the whole movie together with her in it, and you're directing, and it's going tits up real fast, and you're going, well, we're just going to keep the camera rolling here, and eventually we're going to make a documentary out of this. Just kind of, which is what happened there. Is his wife is just kind of rolling.
Okay,
it's
I got to check this out.
Well, there we go. And
it's like she was giving herself a project because she knew that they were going to be in the jungle for so long. And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to shoot this thing because damn it, I went to film school too.
And for the record, I saw Apocalypse Now during that same year between Godfather 1 and Godfather 3.
Oh, wow. So you really, you really went through it then.
Yeah.
And you can see the evolution of Francis Ford Coppola on set, where he goes from fat to skinny and everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
After that heart attack and stuff. Yeah.
He loses like 60 pounds. And like when you see him on set and he's still got this giant head and super big giant beard and everything. And it's just like, and it's that 70s tan. You've been out in the sun all damn day looking like leather. It's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of things, man. Like the opening camera shot for this movie is like a 3-minute long zoom shot.
Yeah.
That they did on computers, which was the first kind of early time that anybody was ever doing anything like this. Because they
were using the ghost camera.
That.
They were using ghost camera technology in 74. I didn't know that.
This was the first one. Walter Murch is like he asked ahead of time. Francis goes, "Hey, how long do you think the titles are all going to be one big giant shot in here and everything? How long are the titles going to be?" He's like, "I don't know. How long should they be?" He's like, "Just give me a length here and everything." And they did that to program in for that 3-minute long zoom shot there and everything, but put that into the computer, and that was the first time that was ever kind of used. And again, Coppola is another one of those guys that was always kind of like on that cutting edge and stuff, and would literally look at some people and just go like, "No, we're going to get all brand new." He liked nice things too.
Yeah.
Coppola liked nice stuff. Me and Coppola got a lot in common where we're not very wise with money. We like a lot of really nice stuff.
Stories like that are part of why I'm really glad we do this kind of podcast now, because I find that kind of stuff way more interesting than the movie itself sometimes.
So that they were doing everything in there, just super very cool. And they talk about like the apartment dressing and stuff like that, where Gene Hackman is living and whatnot, and how specifically sparse that was, and how it was. They're like, we kind of wanted to make it look like a hotel, like he lives there, but he doesn't really live there,
Right, which makes sense, and also the fact that he's got keys to like 3 different places, and you never really know where he's got a bed in every one of those places. And like there's a lot of Gene Hackman doing the heavy lifting in this role, because it's certainly not on the page, but it's what makes Hackman great. Right. I mean, it's why you bring him in, because he's going to be a pain in the ass on set. Everybody has the same story about Gene Hackman being an asshole to him on set, but in the end, there is a reason why you hire him. Because he is that good at his job.
Now, so I want to kind of talk about this, because this is a giant, what's the word I'm looking for? Lightning bolt for this era of filmmaker and everything. Because this movie is also essentially a remake of Antonioni's Blow Up from 1966. Now, are you guys familiar with that movie at all?
I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I mean, I know of it, but I've never seen it.
So essentially, the idea is a guy who's a photographer and everything ends up taking a photograph that may solve a crime. So it was done with a visual thing in this, and so now we're doing it kind of an audio version here. So in Blow Up, he is kind of like literally blowing up the picture further and further to be able to kind of see and make out exactly what's going on here. And this is kind of that same sort of idea where we're going through and scrubbing through the audio here, trying to figure out what the mystery is to all of this. And of course, we would do this again in 10 more years here with Blowout with Brian De Palma in 1982. Right. Because again, we're still kind of going on the same sort of thing, but like Blow Up has been a giant just inspiration for any of the boomer filmmakers for sure.
Sure. That 3-minute long. I want to go back to that for a second. because my very first thought watching it this time is they're so focused on that mime, and I'm wondering how many of the people in this shot are bystanders and how many are actually in the movie. I mean, clearly the mime is from the movie, for sure.
That's not just any mime either.
Who is it?
That's Shields from Darnell and Shields.
Oh, is it really?
Or Shields and Darnell.
Shields and Darnell?
Yeah, that's Shields.
I did not know that. Because I just don't give a shit about a mime.
You don't have don't have a subscription to Mime Quarterly?
I didn't say I didn't.
I've been wondering how much a professional mime makes lately. They got that one at SeaWorld. It's all over the socials.
The problem is they always say mime your own business when you ask them. Sorry.
So, but I wanted to see Gene Hackman punch that mime so badly when he showed up.
I feel like in real life he would have if this was not a film.
Absolutely. Shields, you got away with one this time.
This is a great movie for kind of like very much a show don't tell kind of thing.
Yes,
because we are the whole opening scene and stuff. We are left to kind of gather what's going on here. They don't really sit there and slap you in the face with it and tell you what it is until a couple of minutes in.
Right, or the character development through Raincoat.
Yes,
it's just that kind of movie, man.
Yeah, there's some kind of filmmaking here that's magic, but at the same time, it could be frustrating because you have to pay attention.
Yes. Even though you're basically hearing the same conversation through 30% of it.
Yeah,
it is important to pay attention to this movie, which is why about 10 years from now, no one will know this movie exists.
It's Coppola taking show don't tell to the extreme.
Yes.
What I like about this movie is it also is giving you very much an idea of what an editor's life is like, is going through and hearing those kind of same things over and over and trying to, either pick out the best part or put it together and figure out which goes where, and him using all these different, sources and stuff and having to try to piece everything together to make that perfect thing. And that, like, I love the kind of dispassionate, approach that he takes to everything. It's like, this is just a job. I'm not working at anything else. It's specifically just to get the best recording. I don't care what they're talking about. That's not what I'm hired for. That's
different than that. It's different than that, though, because he is incredibly passionate just about one part of his job. Like, he doesn't care what they're saying. He doesn't care what this is about. It's literally about getting the perfect recording for him. That's the only thing he cares about.
And as a person who can obsess over sound production, sound recording quality, all the sound stuff, man, that spoke to me, especially when the other guy's like, why? You know, this is fine. You're good. You got it. And he's like, no, I got to get it to make me happy here.
And what's funny is Walter Murch was talking and he says, people have often asked, it's like, why can't we just do like Henry Call does in the movie and just take out that background noise? He's like, well, we didn't do it then either. This is made up. These things aren't actually, you can't just go like, well, let me turn down this. You can do a couple of digital things these days. But certainly,
we got isotope now. They didn't have isotope back then.
No, but it's something else where it's still, this movie convinced a lot of people that things like that were actually still were able to happen. So
good. The audio version of
Zoom and Enhance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of kind of music and stuff, the music was actually written before anything was shot in this movie. And the music was then given. So that's what Francis wanted. He wanted the music to be written before the movie, and actors listened to the music and stuff during the shoot in order to kind of, get the vibe and understand what things were going on or whatever. But that was, again, something weird and odd that normally doesn't happen on film shoots. But, it's Francis Ford Coppola in the 70s. He was kind of just doing whatever he wanted to.
That is absolutely true.
Same guy who did the music for All the President's Men.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a guy named David Shire. I was just looking him up real quick. I didn't pull that off the top of the dome or anything. Taken of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Good John Carpenter film.
But by the way,
hold on. I got a question. Is Hackman? I'm sure he's not. That isn't his saxophone we're hearing.
No.
However, is he actually playing it in the scenes?
Here's the thing, I think sax you can fake pretty well. As long as you got
I guess
your
it comes down to is Gene Hackman a saxophone player prior to getting this role? Like, maybe
I don't think so. I think Gene Hackman's a lot of things. I don't think he's somebody that will sit and learn an instrument for something. I could be wrong.
It's kind of on the fence, right? Like that's the question, because I could totally see him like for 2 months learning how to play it. But I could also totally see him being like, I'm not doing that horse shit. We'll shoot around it.
He might have taken a lesson or two just to learn basic fingering so you don't look completely stupid. But again, I think it's not like guitar. Guitar is a lot tougher to kind of fake properly. I think saxophone, if you, and especially because, again, like I said, he knows the music that he's doing too. So he can, kind of program himself, if you will, to kind of sync up to make it look like he's doing, something good. So
I'm pretty sure that saxophonist in Electric Mayhem isn't playing that saxophone either.
Hold on.
I don't know, man. They had an air tube that went up through the puppet and you had a bag in your armpit. Yeah.
Man, Frank Oz was way better than you thought he was, bro. he's playing this.
Blue Lou, was that his name? Blue Lou, I think, maybe.
I think so. He always was in the locker. I would love that guy.
Let me look
whenever we watch these older films too, I kind of like to think about them in the context of what was going on when they were being made. So this movie, it was released in 74, but I think I read that the production was in 72 and 73. And if you look at the same timeline, this movie gets written, it's in production, and then finally released. It almost perfectly follows the Watergate scandal. Richard Nixon in 72 is when it started, when people found out about the whole Watergate wiretap thing. And then by 74, Nixon had resigned. So it's strange how this kind of follows that timeline so closely, but it also, I think, makes the movie a little more interesting to me.
No, it absolutely does.
Everybody can calm down now. People who are up in arms. His name is Zoot.
Zoot.
Of course.
Zoot from the Electric Mayhem?
Yes, Zoot is the saxophonist in Electric Mayhem.
Hey, what's Zoot's nose look like, eh?
It is like a yellow...
Like a yellow eggplant?
Like you'd be doing some Zoot, yeah? All right, there we go.
Doing some toot. Zoot with the toot.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of that going on in the
Colombian fruit.
The music, by the way. Sean, does this music sound at all like the theme in Severance?
I didn't notice it sounding like the theme of Severance.
It is so very much.
Is it? I will tell you, I've watched all of season 2 of Severance now.
Mm-hmm.
It is the rarest of cases where I'm about to give up on the show, man, because like midway through season 2, I was like, man, this show is not doing it for me. And then,
is that Ben Stiller's show? I get some of the shows confused. Okay.
And maybe 2 episodes before the end, it hooked me back in, and I was all the way in, baby. It's pretty rare when a show's able to do that.
Wait a minute.
Is that the show, Sean, that you had complimented their use of liminal space?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I've been curious about it, but I still haven't seen it.
And the liminal space is one of the reasons why I was like, because they use it less and less in season 2. And so my reason for watching the show started going away.
Was it the Harmony episode? Because that's the one that almost broke me. I said that could have been an email, that episode.
Man, there's that one. There's a couple. There's that episode. There's the episode where they are in the woods.
Oh, that's all right.
I hated that episode. There's the episode where we keep dreaming, or are we? And you know how I am with that stuff.
Oh yeah, you're not a dreamer.
And so I was like, I'm about done with the show. And then, they sucked me back in.
I made it through the entirety of Game of Thrones. I can make it through anything. But back to the conversation here.
Yeah.
One thing that impressed me most about it was that it was written by Coppola, because I kind of find the story interesting and it's written in a subtle way, and it made me respect him a little bit more as a screenwriter than I probably had before. It had a real Philip K. Dick feeling if you take all the science fiction out and just put science in its place, kind of.
He's 5 years out of film school is what this script feels like to me.
Well, he probably was a big Philip K. Dick fan or something. Then who knows? Or maybe at least a fan of one of his short stories, because it just the way he explores the paranoia, the psychosis, the questioning of reality. It has a real Philip K. Dick feel to me.
What if
I can always
told
tell when
you-
something has a Dick feel to it.
What if what if I told you that this movie, the screenplay was dictated by Francis Ford Coppola?
Dictated.
Yes.
That adds a new flair to it.
It was, and the recordings and stuff are on the DVD and special features and stuff like that. So you can kind of just hear it, and it's just the audio quality is pretty bad because it's just like he doesn't have a good mic on it, and it sounds like he's doing it in a cafe or some shit. But
what do you think, Sean? How would you like to start dictating your writing?
I would hate it because that's not how I write.
I know. I think that my mind would struggle to adapt, because now it'd be pretty easy just to hook up voice to text recognition if that's what you wanted to do. But no, it doesn't work for me. For some reason, I need that visual component.
I need to have that lag between getting it onto a computer screen and in my head, because then it's almost like, oh no, I have a better idea for that. I need that little bit of lag.
And I'm I like to lay out where I'm going, then go back and make the trip interesting. I don't get it right out of my mouth the first time. I try to get all the points out and then go back and see what I messed up, screwed up, what needs to be fixed up. But I don't know that I could do that on the fly talking unless I was reading it from something I'd already written. And then what's the point?
But I would imagine that probably 90% of this movie is just all visualization.
Yeah.
And so that's probably why he's dictating to someone.
Yeah,
I can see that.
This isn't a David Mamet script,
right?
We're not rolling back and forth and stuff like that.
He's not tapping his pencil to make sure he has iambic pentameter.
Yeah. Oh man, I can see it probably goes like this. I don't know. The guy plays his saxophone for about 7 minutes while we linger on it. Yeah. No, next page. Interior warehouse. Daytime.
Even though it's the mid 70s, it's still the 60s in his apartment.
I love it. There's probably some truth to it, he checked out of the real world 10 years ago.
Which, by the way,
6 years ago or whatever.
The most relatable thing to me in this entire movie is him getting home and just pants go off, baby. I love it. It's like it's the most man thing in the world. It's like you just get home. It's just like, man, these shoes and pants gotta go off. That's it. I just gotta be free and loose, And if you ain't got anybody in the house, that's the way to live as a single man. You just get home, pants right off. I remember that was me, especially in film school, because I was in Orlando and it was hot all the time. So whenever I got home, boy, this pants was off every time.
My favorite depiction of the pants coming off when you get home from work come from Scrubs, when Turk, the surgeon, was explaining to, I don't know, someone what he does after he gets home from work, and he's telling about, I'll sit down, I'll review the charts for tomorrow's surgeries, I'll think through what I'm going to do. As he's explaining it, it shows what he really does, which is come home, kick his pants off as he's closing the door, and sit down and watch Sanford and Son all evening. But he didn't want the lady to know that. I loved it.
Sounds like what I'd be doing. John Cazale, just the man was in 5 movies and every single one of them a banger, and then he left this world.
It is insane. His hit ratio will never be matched, not once, not ever.
No,
he's a legend.
Incredible.
He deserves a statue or something.
It'd be a small little statue too, because he's a cute little guy.
I was going to say, once I say that is when all the emails roll in of pictures of statues of this guy in every U.S. state.
There's a New Jersey statue with John Cazale in there. That'd be great.
Man, just 5 movies, each one of them just incredible.
The thing is, he's always just this naturalistic kind of thing. Whatever little bit that he's in, you buy him in that role, be it this. And here's the thing, between this and Dog Day Afternoon and The Godfather and stuff, Deer Hunter, all of those characters, while they all look like him, are pretty different characters.
Yeah.
The secret is that he's a stage actor first and a screen actor second. So he's had to play whatever, you might be in the same show and somebody doesn't show up. So suddenly you got to be the grandma. You never know.
I know that he was a stage actor first, but you also have to be able to shift gears which not every stage actor can do well.
Agreed.
And because he can play small, and I don't know how many stage actors are able to make that transition as well as he's able to do it. Like
Yeah.
when you think about like that little blonde lady who was in everything on Broadway for like 10 years, 15 years, who then transitioned to television and movies. I can't remember her name.
I know what you're talking about. Chris Chenoweth?
Chenoweth, thank you. Like that lady can't act small. Never.
The original Glinda. Yeah.
And she's and she's great. Like I like seeing her on shows and stuff. I think she's great. And she has her speed. That's what she do.
Yeah.
Don't ask her to do anything else though, because that's what she do.
Speaking of speed, man, Alan Garfield comes into this movie, and I love this dude in everything he's in. He's also one of those guys that's been in 150 different things. You've seen him in a bajillion things.
Yeah.
He's good in all of them, and he's good as hell in this one as a guy who's clearly in, like, he's in the same field as Hackman, but like he wants to be Henry Call so bad and wants that mantle, wants to work with him together and everything, but at the same time too, he's clearly just so jealous of everything that he's doing.
It's so bad, man. If he were like 10 years older or 10 years younger, he would have such an amazing, like everyone would know who this guy is. He looks like real life Wario, which
I love that description.
Which I am saying as a plus. It is a plus that he looks like a real life Wario. But he would totally have a bigger career if he were 10 years older or 10 years younger.
Yeah, just right out. It's a weird little time here where it was just like, you're perfect for like just this character actor that'll never quite get, just above this sort of state. He's with us till 2020 or so.
I know, man. I know it.
But
I know it till the government killed him so that we could pretend that there was a pandemic happening.
That makes sense.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He could have passed as a Gandolfini to me.
Almost, man. He could have been. He's definitely Gandolfini adjacent.
Like he'd be like Uncle Alan. Like he's not a direct relative.
Right. like there's like the mom is different. Like yeah.
What are everyone's thoughts on Cindy Williams?
Okay, I'm surprised that you were able to broach that topic before I was, because I've used a whole lot of restraint to not ask this question from the get-go. But growing up, were you guys more Laverne guys or Shirley guys?
Man, I don't have a speed here.
I was a Rhoda guy.
I mean, we were all Squiggy guys. We'll just get that out front.
That
we all
much
like
is true.
Squiggy best.
When Mork and Mindy's on, in 30 minutes, you don't think about who's hotter, Laverne or Shirley. You wait for Mork and Mindy.
The answer is Shirley. I always like Shirley a little bit better. So I was glad. I don't think I've seen Cindy Williams outside the context of Milwaukee, Wisconsin before. So I really liked it. No schmilling, no schmozzling. It was great.
Well, I mean, the reason why she's in this movie, right, is because of American Graffiti, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's just before this.
Yeah.
I forgot she was in that.
And again, like George and all these guys are all buddies here and everything. Yeah. Like them and De Palma, it's like everybody's talking to everybody. They're all in the same club together.
Yeah.
They're having good times. You leave them be. I think she auditioned for Star Wars for Princess Leia, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a crime if she didn't, because she's in so many of these buddies.
I definitely prefer who they got as Princess Leia, but it's not a bad idea. I mean, I could see why before at the time when you don't know what the future holds.
Yeah,
she's definitely got that Leia vibe. I could see it.
But I mean, come on, Kurt Russell is Han Solo though. That would have been something.
Well,
that'd have been something. It wouldn't have been the same, but it'd have been something. It'd been interesting.
You'll never get me to say no to Kurt Russell, probably, but I'm glad we got who we got in both.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. But it's one of those things that, like, if you were to say any other name when you say Kurt Russell, it's just kind of like, oh gosh, if anybody. But no, we're happy with what we got. We're not crying. We're not crying that Harrison Ford is on Solo. Everybody,
no, I'm definitely not. No.
I love the trade show in this. What a great little bit right here and everything. I love the salesmanship of it. I love his kind of just pattern everything, because if you've ever been to anything like this, these people are it's so accurately scary.
It's so funny how it hasn't changed either.
No.
that, no matter what trade you're in, no matter what period of time, if it's a trade show, it's all like this.
Hey, time-honored tradition, I guess we could say,
Even in medicine, I mean, this is what a trade show's like. Yes.
Come on over here, boys. I got a little something to show you. Here's a demonstration that you might need.
We don't get the pretty ladies with glittery makeup on their eyelids, though, like they do here.
Yeah, then you're going to the wrong trade shows.
No,
medicine trade shows seem like they're terrible then, because the ones that I've been to do have them.
You got to have booth babes at your medical shows here. Otherwise, it's like, who's going to come over and want to find out what this new drug is if there ain't a girl with her jugs out?
It's true.
Forget it.
Juggamore.
I mean, this pill causes, may cause internal bleeding, and but don't worry, we got a hot chick here.
Yep.
A hot chick selling you the cure for your diarrhea.
Ooh. She's going around giving out samples.
You look like a guy who spends a little too much time squatting on the pot. Why don't you try some Imodium AD?
To switch gears here. So one of the things that I noticed in this is, everybody waxes nostalgic for 70s New York, right? And with good reason. It's like dirty and it's gross, but there's something cool about it. But no one ever talks about 70s San Francisco, which looks way better to me. Like, I would never want to hang out in 70s New York. I totally want to hang out in 70s San Francisco.
Yeah, I knew a guy who was an old cardiologist from San Francisco, spent a lot of time practicing in the Haight-Ashbury area, and just the stories from back then make it sound like a very interesting place to spend a little time.
Man, just the aesthetic of everything looks so great. It's got that, it's not, you can tell that everything isn't $1 million like it is now when you're in San Francisco. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I personally like San Francisco weather better than Southern California weather. I mean, that's a personal preference, but San Francisco better weather than New York or LA or Chicago. It's got that going for it.
Oh yeah, not even close. Yeah, totally.
And this movie had a nice harbinger of things to come with the homeless person dying on the bench.
Man, you ain't wrong about that neither.
They were just like, listen, y'all should have heeded the warning in 1974.
You know what they needed? You know what they needed at that convention there, that trade show, Adam, is they needed the guy with whatever the 1974 version of the app to let you know which streets have poo-poo on them.
The poop scooper streets on.
What's the movie with Ben Stiller and Jack Black where you spray it on dog poo and it goes away?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
There's some movie where like Stiller's character, it's in the early 2000s, late 90s, where of course Stiller's playing that character where he's flummoxed and he's angry because his friend, who's an idiot, invented this product.
The movie is Envy from 2004. Envy. And I got that by just Googling Ben Stiller dog poop.
There you go.
And that is the first thing that comes up when Ben Stiller dog poop is put into Google. Envy.
If things continue the reason why I'm asking is because if things continue moving forward the way they are, someone's going to invent a spray that gets rid of homeless people the same way.
Ooh.
What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure Texas and Georgia already have it. They just haven't told us about it yet.
Georgia has it?
You haven't been to Georgia, have you?
I'm just picking on you because I know where you live, Sean.
there ain't a ton of homeless people in Atlanta. I'll tell you that.
Last time I was there
are not.
There's not. At least the part of Atlanta
it's the spray. It's the spray.
Yeah. Go downtown. They're downtown. Trust me. Last time I was there, it was way more than I'd ever seen there before.
That the time that we hung out?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You saw a ton of homeless people.
Of homeless people. I passed a whole bunch of people that were because I walked a couple blocks and stuff. I passed a ton of people zonked out on the side of the road. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud to say that Huntington's overrepresented when it comes to an unhoused population.
Hey, unhoused and fatties, you guys got it all over there, boy.
Yeah.
Good times.
Another to continue talking about the aesthetics of this movie. Mm-hmm. Love 70s San Francisco. Frickin' love it. Also love the lo-fi tech. It's all like it's buttons and it's like metal. and it's just the best. It just looks so great.
And here's the thing, that actually comes from real life, believe it or not, because all of the super high tech guys who were doing all of this crazy sound work and engineering work and stuff like that in the 70s and everything, no one used off the shelf stuff. Everybody just cobbled together their own stuff because no one made it. No one made that stuff back then. So all of this stuff, most of it's real, but based upon stuff that people cobbled together. Some of it's kind of some bullshit because it's a movie and it needs to look cool. But a lot of that is based upon things just people kitting together stuff.
God, that's so cool. Kunk kunk when you press play.
But that to me, again, that's another thing. And I'm that last group of people who is, on the train of tape to tape editing and everything.
Yeah. You're probably the last. You're probably the last class to use that.
Yeah,
right?
We really are. I was probably using it way past the due by date and everything as well. So we were really kind of last train out. But there is something that's just magical about the physicality of that editing and stuff and the moving back and forth. To me, cool. It was like I was editing video, but it was also half a musical performance as well, because you'd be slapping buttons and these things were built like tanks, so you could beat the shit out of them. So you would just be slapping buttons and flipping things and turning knobs and just punch, slap this thing over there. And then you're running down the hall with the tape to slap the tape into the machine and everything. So it's a very visceral, real kind of thing. And this very much gets that kind of feeling across and stuff, and that hearing and going back and just checking. And because, you get to the point where you're like, even 1 or 2 frames on an edit makes a difference. So you're going back and you're listening again and trying to hear that musicality of it and everything. And it is so very well represented in this movie. And again, that's also due to Walter Murch, being the editor of this movie. This is his first feature that he's doing, and quite an astounding work for your first feature. Because not only is he doing that, he's also, responsible a lot for the sound. Mix and everything like that. Walter Murch is also, not only a big editor but big sound guy as well.
Let me get this joke in because you're running out of breath.
Please.
And Bruce, I'm sorry because you're probably not going to get this joke, but I guarantee you Adam will. You know who's probably still using this equipment? Full Sail.
I get the reference.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we actually have a friend who is a Full Sail graduate up here who got a job with Technicolor. For some reason, Apple needed someone to do the sort of thing he was doing with Technicolor, working with lighting. So somehow he gets hired by Apple at the time when everybody said, don't take the job. Apple's about to go under. And also, instead of paying him his market rate, they were giving him a lot of stocks instead.
Holy hell.
And now the guy is like filthy rich from doing lighting that he learned to do in Full Sail. So
he must be the biggest success story ever from that place.
Well,
everybody from Full Sail that I run into, it's like they're so angry because they went to Full Sail, and Full Sail was teaching them all the wrong things and on all the wrong equipment. And they overcharge their parents, or they got some horrible loan, and they're like, and I'm never getting out of debt ever.
Oh, for a minute I thought you were talking about the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
No, sir.
Know people that went there. It's the same kind of stories.
Same exact thing. Exactly.
I would say Darren Lynn Bousman, probably the biggest name. He did like a handful of the Saw movies and stuff.
Ooh, cool.
So that's
Hey, that's not bad.
That's something. There's
J.D. Harmeyer from the Howard Stern Show.
There was one other guy. I forget who it was. The Howard Stern Show. What year is this?
Well, my comment's from 2004.
I made that comment way back. I made that comment when it was relevant.
Internet's slow over here in West Virginia.
It's going to mail in those jokes.
And we'll be back with a new corn song.
All right. I love the sense of paranoia that this entire movie gets across here. And again, like you said, Bruce, it was very much of that kind of era and everything. how hilarious that it would only get far, far worse as time goes by. In this movie, we're like, who's listening to us? And now we literally invite listening things into our house on a regular basis.
Same point I had. It's like, imagine how bad he'd be freaked out if he had like 3 Amazon Echoes in his house.
Well, my daughter told me never, ever, ever use those. And
cybersecurity people have told me the same thing.
It's getting worse now because now they are, because it used to be they did it and didn't tell you. Now they're saying, oh yeah, by the way, we're listening all the time and we're going to be recommending everything for you. Like now they're just out and out telling you that that's what they're doing.
Yeah. It's like I'll yell to my wife. I'll say, my hemorrhoids are flamed up really bad. Do we have any preparation H?
We keep going to the same place today.
Yeah, well, I'll say, boy, do we have any preparation H? And then suddenly on Facebook, they're showing me ads for preparation H. It's crazy.
That's how they get you.
That's why you should not have your phone on the toilet, people.
Now, I know this was the story at the time when the movie came out. Is Gene Hackman an enemy of the state the same character as from The Conversation?
I love the idea. I think it's very, very fun. Idea. I haven't watched Enemy of the State in quite some time. I need to watch it again. Big fan. Tony Scott. Gotta love it.
It's just kind of it's really outdated now when you see it.
Well, what's super fun is that, like, I think he ends up putting it in on a Game Gear and putting the Game Gear in his bag and everything. So I always enjoy seeing a good old Sega Game Gear.
He has a different name. Gene Hackman's character has a different name.
But you would imagine Harry Cole would probably change his name.
Of course. And so I'm wondering...
Harrison Collaroo, that's his new name.
That was it's Brill in Enemy of the State. But
okay.
I'm wondering, is he... Like, how much of it... Because did anyone ever ask Gene Hackman?
No, probably not. Or if they did, like, he's also, it seems like one of those guys that just be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Get out of here.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
I could see him either being like like Harrison Ford, either being disarmingly fun, where it's just like, what's going on here? He's having a lot of blast, or a real piece of garbage. I don't know that there'd be a lot of in between.
Right. And speaking of which, right. So when Harrison Ford shows up, now keep in mind, I've seen this movie before. Yet every single time he shows up in this movie, I'm like, holy shit, that's Harrison Ford.
Hey, little baby.
and he might be the most handsome man in the world at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how smooth that face is on him.
It's kind of disrupting when you see him, because you're just like, that's Harrison Ford. And he's a child in this movie. Like, it feels so weird.
I think the weirdest I've ever felt was when he popped on screen in Apocalypse Now.
That is pretty weird.
That was a movie where Han Solo just did not make any sense.
The cool part about him showing up in this and stuff too, and in an odd way, if you think about it, you can kind of see his star coming along the way, in as much as he's holding his own with Gene Hackman on the screen here.
And I'm wondering here, right? Because he's in the production mill at this point, right? Because he's a contract player still, right? Under contract.
Yeah,
I think he is
he's
still
doing little stuff here and there.
Right. But he had done all of those Western TV shows, right? And in 74, like, he does that. He's in this. He's also in, like, Gunsmoke or something. Like, I mean, his 74 is very surprising, because 73 he's in American Graffiti, and that's kind of what changes his career as American Graffiti,
right? Because
before that he's just a contract player, and he's just showing up in TV shows where you're like, maybe I want to see that episode now.
What are the chances at this point, 1974, that while this movie was being made, Harrison Ford absolutely could not stand Gene Hackman?
I think there's very little chance of that, because when you see interviews with Harrison Ford during like Star Wars, right before Star Wars comes out, and they're not gigantic stars yet, they're asking them questions. They're asking the big three from Star Wars questions, And Carrie Fisher's just coked out of her mind, so she's not really answering questions very well. And Mark Hamill's trying to be fun and funny and talking about how Alec Guinness isn't really like he's such an actor of the past that it's so interesting to work with him, now that we're in New Hollywood and all this stuff. And Harrison Ford is the exact opposite, where he's like, I learned a lot from him being on set. He taught me subtle nuances and things I'd never thought about before about getting into character and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, holy cow. Like
that is cool.
He's dead serious. So I'm guaranteeing you that when you are that age, Harrison Ford, and you're standing next to Gene Hackman, he thinks it's a very awesome thing that he's standing next to Gene Hackman.
Because Hackman and Ford both famously prickly, but sometimes two prickly people really get along well together.
Well, I don't think he was prickly yet, is what
I think you're right. But some people were born prickly, some learn to be prickly. And the way that he, I don't know how much is Hollywood legend and how much is true, but the standard story is it was never like a dream for Harrison Ford to be an actor. It just kind of happened. So he never got too caught up in the ego side of things. But I don't know if that's true or not.
I feel like that's a little disingenuous.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like Michael Keaton. I named myself Michael Keaton because I'm a huge Buster Keaton fan. When you're like, really? I don't think that's true, Michael.
Well, it's like, Harrison Ford's like, oh, I didn't really want to do this, but like you have a decade's worth of acting credits before New Hope. Like,
yeah.
Okay. And like you've been on a lot of TV shows for a guy who don't want to be an actor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the funny part where you're like, I
think for a lot of people like me, the perception was he was doing nothing but being a carpenter, and then he got thrown into Han Solo.
Right. Because
that's how they cast
that's
it.
the story. Right. It's the same thing with Stallone, where like, oh, well, I was so poor. No, you weren't. Your parents were paying your rent so that you could still live in New York or Hollywood.
I said I was poor.
So to give an example here, right? Because I just looked it up. So 73, Harrison Ford is in American Graffiti, and it changes the trajectory of his career. His 74, he is in an episode of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And The Conversation. He's in The Conversation. And he's also he's in a TV show I've never heard of before called Petrocelli. He's in that for an episode. So like he's kind of all over the place at this point in his life. Like he's in the years before, he's in the Mod Squad, he's in the Virginian and Ironside.
So yeah, he's got representation. He's doing auditions.
Well,
he's not just being forced into acting.
He's in the studio system because that's what he said, was that like, he was in the studio system and no one was sure what to do with him. And so they would just put him in, every Western that they made at the time.
Put him in a handsome boy role.
Right, exactly. But him in Kung Fu, I kind of have to see that episode.
Did you
of Kung
see
Fu,
his character's name is Mr. Harrison in Kung Fu?
Get out of here. Really? Yep, Mr. Harrison. There it is.
I need to check that one out too.
I'm sure it's on YouTube. That's all those things are.
The kind of like the old trope that there's only a finite number of stories in terms of plot. Like every plot has its basic core of what kind of story it is. Mm-hmm. This is a descent into madness. A man descends into madness is the story. How do you feel about that descent once it starts happening, particularly the first time you realize he's having a hallucination?
I love it. I love everything about this. I love how, like you said, when we get all the way to the end where it's just like, when you come from this world, when you're the guy who's used to, kind of putting your magnifying glass on everything and looking at stuff, when it's turned on you and what's possible, what's, what lies out there, it's only going to scare you even more so. And if you know that somebody out there is, your equal or is doing something that you can't quite catch, that's going to drive you absolutely batty and stuff like that. And I love him just kind of tearing up the apartment, looking for the bug, looking for the thing that honestly might not even actually be there. And then it might be there, like that's the fun part of it. It's like, you're not even quite, 100% sure what's exactly going on here.
We know there's a bug there because they recorded him and they played
right.
it
But how much of that is his imagination and how much of that is?
Yeah. Did he even hear any of this stuff?
Yeah. That's the question. Did he even get a phone call in the first place? Yeah. Once he has the first full blown hallucination, I still find the story interesting and I'm following it, but I'm a little annoyed in that nothing has to be real now.
Right.
And
but again, it's that paranoia, and again, like you said, Bruce, within the era that we're working with here and everything, that is on everybody's mind.
To answer a question that MVD sent me instant message, I believe that there is blood in the toilet. Because I do believe that the crime scene was cleaned up. I don't think that's a hallucination.
Oh, the flooding and everything. You think that's okay?
Okay. See, I thought that had to be hallucination.
Oh, so you think it's a hallucination?
That's what I think. I'm not saying that I have a good reason.
No, man,
to think
look,
that.
this is what makes this movie so cool.
I took it as a hallucination.
I assumed it was a given. I assumed that there wasn't even a murder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in the end, both Cindy Williams and her lover are still alive, and it's Robert Duvall died in a car wreck, and it's insinuated that they caused the car wreck, and he's freaking out because he thought one of the lovers were dead.
Well, they kill him in the hotel room and then set up the car wreck.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed some of the subtlety again because I didn't know what was real, and I assumed that was hallucination, and that the car wreck is just, oh, well, that fits his.
We could also both be right or both be wrong. I mean, that's the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And once again, I'm not claiming at all to have any kind of evidence to back it up. This is just what I thought when I was watching it. And now that you give me your perspective, I can rewatch it and probably see it in a different direction. I'm not married to this idea, but I just wanted to ask about it. I know I tend to get uncomfortable with things like Legion, where I can't trust what's on the screen.
Sure.
You guys like Legion from square one, so I just didn't know if this hit us differently. But I also know you hate dream sequences, Sean, and to me, hallucinations are just another form of a dream sequence.
No, and you are right, but I don't like dream sequences when it's just full of horse shit. But there's the one thing of a realization that's like, this is how much longer are we going to have to see this in popular, storytelling? It drives me crazy.
And what I really like about this, the reason I made the Philip K. Dick comparison, is because you go through it and you don't know what is real and what is paranoia. And I had a psychopathology professor 25 or more years ago tell me just because someone's paranoid doesn't mean that there might not be someone out to get them. And that's what I see is happening here is, this person really is concerned that this guy could cause problems, the Harrison Ford character, and they really are spying on him, or, that's what I see is that this is really happening, but his paranoia is driving him to see it as a bigger problem than it is.
Yeah.
And then when he tears the house apart, and then there's nothing left and there's no bug that he can find, but I'm believing that he really is bugged. And that tells me, of course, they put the bug in the saxophone. That's the one thing he would never destroy looking for a bug. The recording that they sent him was of him playing the saxophone. After watching the movie, coming to that conclusion, I kind of did some Google searching and see what other critics thought. And a lot of people have come to the conclusion, of course it's in the saxophone. So I kind of like that.
That would hurt their ears whenever they tried to listen in.
And they did have like an actual guy who did this kind of surveillance work as I don't know what you call it, an expert on the set.
A Snoopy McSnooperson.
A technical expert, technical consult or something. But this guy, he himself says, oh yeah, when I watch it, I know that bug's in the instrument because that's where I would put it. So that's kind of cool. And I like that interpretation that despite his paranoia and the great lengths he went to, he still didn't solve the problem.
Love a couple of things that Harry owns. One, the surveillance van.
Mm-hmm.
That surveillance van is awesome. So set up. Love the mirror. Love the mirror windows. The whole thing about that van is just fantastic. Also love Harry's shop, and it's that entire floor of that building.
Yeah,
and it's just so gorgeous, and it seems so strange to me that he has like a cot just there, but he got some use out of it watching this movie. Which brings me to another thing I want to bring up. I want to live in a world where someone who looks like Gene Hackman can pull in girls who look like a 1974 Terry Garr.
Now,
Well,
here's the thing. We're not quite sure what her deal is, and we never really know. So she may have all kinds of weird stuff because a lot of questions are not answered. So that may be how.
And then there's also suddenly, well, in this world of cloak and dagger, cat and mouse, is she working an angle with him too? Because that's the first thing I think. If 1974 Terry Garr starts chatting me up, I wonder, is she after a kidney or money?
No, there's something else weird there. That's yeah. I don't.
Maybe it's daddy issues. I don't know. Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
So Robert Duvall, he's a pretty big deal by this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's huge.
Godfather. Yeah. Do you think from the beginning it was the plan to have Robert Duvall be this mysterious guy, or do you think he just happened to be available at the right time?
Okay. He did Rain People with Coppola, so they're buddies.
Yeah, I know they're buddies, but what I'm saying is, I mean, I figured they were buddies from Godfather, but what I'm saying is,
Rain People was first, so that's like he goes way back. That's my point. It's
one
like
movie makes you an acquaintance, two makes you BFFs.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I just kind of feel like they didn't think they would be able to have Duvall for this uncredited role, but then it worked out and they took advantage. Like, it really has a feeling like if we knew we were going to have Duvall, we'd have done a little bit more with this scene.
Oh, I disagree. I think that the way it was written, I think you're right about can we get Duvall? I think you're right about that. But I think that the part that you're wrong about is that the part was never there. I think that the plan was always, we need a big name to play this role. And because he's buddies with Duvall, we'll ask Robert first. But if we can't get him, how about the guy who plays Matt Houston? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can see why it's uncredited, because you know they've got their credits rolling before the film and not after, and you don't necessarily want to spoil that reveal.
And that was kind of a cool thing to do in the 70s and stuff too, you know, is take some of these uncredited roles and stuff like that. You know,
having a sandwich in a different movie. Yeah.
I'm way cooler with uncredited than unpaid. I'll just say that.
Yeah, he got paid for the role. I'll say, yeah, I could. Well, then again, it is Francis, so now the only time where I've actually questioned that, because normally I would be like, well, they got paid. When I'll go Francis, I'm like, maybe
not.
He got paid in grapes.
He's Monopoly Man sometimes, where he's got a top hat and a tux on, but his pockets are out inside out. And he's going, huh?
I don't know what happened.
Flies out of his wallet when he opens it.
Take a guess, and don't look it up. How old do you think Gene Hackman actually was when they shot this movie?
I think he was almost 50, I think.
I think he claims in the movie to be 44. So I'm going to say he's probably 35. he feels like, you know, he's got that born old, and he's got the oatmeal guy, the diabetes guy, the Wilford Brimley thing. Where Wilford Brimley at 22 looked like my grandpa.
He's 44 years old.
There you go.
Oh, so he was claiming to be exactly how old he was.
You could have told me that he was 65 years old in this movie, though, and I would totally have believed it.
Now, from what Walter, I'm going off of what Walter Murch says here, right? Is that like what you are seeing in this movie is antithetical to what Gene Hackman looked like in real life. Like all of this, the hair, the glasses, the wardrobe choices, and everything were very specifically, and nothing what Gene Hackman's actual style or look was like at all.
So you're saying they glammed him way up for this movie?
No, opposite. They went way down.
Because at the time in the 70s, also you have to keep in mind that the style of suit that he's wearing looks cool to us now in 2025.
Yeah,
but that is literally like the squarest, lamest suit you could have possibly owned in 1974.
I pictured his free time. He dresses like Brad Pitt did in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He looks like a longshoreman in real life whenever you see him, because he's always wearing
the beanie,
and he's got a fluffy sweater on all the time. And
I love that, man. Is he originally from the Northeast?
I don't have any idea. I can't imagine so, but
you can't go wrong looking like a secondary character from a Stephen King book. I tell you,
he probably. I think that. That's the only look he has.
San Bernardino.
Is that where he's from? San Bernardino. I think
that's the northeast of the Northwest.
All right. So we love Gene Hackman. Everybody loves Gene Hackman. But if you had to recast this role, who would you do it with?
Okay. So here's what makes Gene Hackman so fascinating to me is that he can simultaneously be an everyman and yet he's one of a kind.
Isn't it? That's
And
weird.
I can't quite wrap my head around it. Like an everyman, there should be a few others that you could just think of right off the top of the head. But I can't. And I guess that I would just go, since there's only one Gene Hackman, I guess I would just go with like a 1974 acting powerhouse that could work with Coppola. I'd probably go with Dustin Hoffman.
Okay.
But he does not have the same kind of schleppy look.
I am going to go same style actor. I think Emmett Walsh would kill this role.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. Now, my choice, you'd have to open up another cast member in this, because I feel like you could push John Cazale into this role.
Totally.
It'd be a little different, but you could still very much have that character, him play that character, and then somebody else fill in his role and everything.
Or live action Wario. You could do that too, and it would work.
All right, movies only come in two forms: art or fart. Bruce, the conversation, art or fart for you?
Oh, for me, that's not a hard question to answer at all. This is art. Whether or not I like the movie is irrelevant, because like this is something I watch and I'm impressed. I'm pulled in. It totally changed my point of view on Francis Ford Coppola. I'm kind of embarrassed that I wasn't even familiar with this movie, much less hadn't seen it before. So yeah, this was a very art-filled experience for me.
Very nice. John?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, not only is it art, it's art school art too. Like I would have no problem believing that Coppola wrote this while he was in art school. Like it feels like that style movie. It's kind of great that way though. Like it's like a big budget art school movie.
Yeah, art for me as well. This is, back when he's taken chances, and most of them are still hitting in this era, which is pretty darn awesome. And the crazy part is people are just allowing him to do whatever he wants to do, and he's taking big and bold wild swings and stuff with what he's doing. And even in his kind of corporate work with Your Godfather and stuff like that, he's still changing movies at that point, which is kind of a wild thing to think about. But this movie, it's so awesome that the success of that gave him the leverage to be able to do something like this. And I wish he had some more successes in life so he could get bigger and better swings, because man, when they hit they hit really great, but when they don't, boy, is it at least it's something to watch, I'll tell you that. That is it, everybody. We got our first Gene Hackman movie down, but fear not, we got plenty more of that to come. Next week, we're talking Crimson Tide. Sean, tell us about it.
It's this little tiny film starring people you've barely heard of before. And also was one of the ghostwriters on it, may or may not have been on mountains of cocaine when he did some ghostwriting on it.
Hey, man, back then cocaine was cheap.
Okay. Oh, that makes it okay then.
If you could get it for a good price,
Well, I am a spendthrift. Bring in more, please.
Well, I guess I haven't followed the markets. Has the cost of cocaine outpaced inflation? I don't know.
It's gone
like
all
you don't
over the
know.
place.
Listen to him. Listen to him trying to keep the cops
I
off
have
his
no
trail.
idea what inflation is these days. Due to all the cocaine.
Dude, all the cocaine I've been doing. These things happen. So yeah, man, next week we'll be talking about Crimson Tide. So come and check that out. And you listen, you can't go bad with some Denzel and Gene Hackman. What do you want?
Man.
If your heart's not soaring on the idea of that, I don't even know why you're here at this point. How'd you get this far in the podcast? You wild.
This is, by the way, every Gene Hackman movie, for those of you who know my past at all, know that I used to play a game called Gene Hackman +1, where Gene Hackman is always the same guy in every movie, but there's plus one thing. In the conversation, it's Gene Hackman plus paranoia.
Okay. I like this. I like this rule.
It's a fun game because you try to throw the other person with a movie, and you always know the answer whenever anyone says, what about Superman 4? And everybody always gives the same response, which is Gene Hackman plus money.
I like that.
And we'd like to see some of your money over at patreon.com/HMP. Support this
King
show.
of the segues, everybody. You're still the king, Paul.
Daredevil Born Again. We got to do it right. Daredevil Born Again, 30 questions over there. So do us a big old giant favor. Check that out. Check us out over there on the YouTube as well. Got a large quick little surge of subscribers here and everything. Thought that was very nice. I don't know where that came from, but because I didn't put up a ton of stuff, and all of a sudden it's just like boom, some people go up. So that make me happy. So thank you guys so much for that. Leave comments, like, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff. We really appreciate you. Bruce, plug something real fast.
Hey, check out Werewolf Fighter. Werewolf Fighter is the most fun 38 minutes you're going to have on YouTube watching people fight a werewolf.
Sean, what do you
go to YouTube? Look for it. Werewolf Fighter, Bruce Leslie, Anime Dad. There's a million ways to find it. There's like 7 ways.
There's 7 ways to find, not a million. Stop overselling yourself. Sean, what else? I don't know.
Go to our YouTube.
Done. 30 questions. You know all the stuff. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for Crimson Tide for Sweet Sean, the Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Porters, reminding you to be a dirty baby and leave a comment for your mom.